Simple Studies, and I'm here to talk a little bit today about our morning circle. You can call it your morning basket, morning time, circle time, symposium, whatever you call it. I am here to share some of these resources that we've been using just this year, not every single year other than the Bible. And I'm so excited to share some of this with you. So where do I start? I don't even know where to start. But I'm really excited. We do a lot. I want to say that our morning circle time varies between, on a rough day, about 15 minutes to it can go up to like an hour on a good day. And every year it changes. In fact, every term it changes. Let's get started. Let's start with Bible. I literally brought my basket. This is my basket. This is my morning circle basket. And I pull it right up alongside the table with the kids and I, along with wheeling all of our carts over with all of our materials. But first I wanted to start with our Bible, our memory verse. This is from Simply Charlotte Mason. I love this. This is our second year using this. And literally you can see there are tabs in here and they go by daily, so your daily verse, and odd and even. So every, if it's the 11th, it's an odd day, obviously, and you're reviewing some of the verses that you've already memorized. And then it has daily. So if it's a Monday, you review the verse that's behind the tab on Monday. And then it has the days of the month. So if it's the 15th of the month and it happens to fall there, then you have a verse there. This has been incredible. Definitely a game changer in our homeschool. And it's a beautiful little box that's a keepsake, and literally you can flip through it anytime and look at any verses, and really highly recommend it. So reading through the Bible, we have been using the J. Patterson Smith, not devotionals, commentaries, I should say. And these have been great. So we're a little bit on a hiatus. We're in between. We're about to start our third term for the 2002 year. And I forgot to say I have an 11-year-old and I have a 7-year-old, Form 2A and a Form 1A, roughly, which is about 6th grade and 2nd grade. So these are great. And we're about to start term 3 and finish these out. So those are really good. While we're on that hiatus, I've been reading through this. Short, to the point, really awesome. And then I have this, To Be a Christian. Sorry, I just slapped myself in the face with that. But it has our catechisms in it. So that's helpful. Now, one thing I actually do use with the J. Patterson Smith books, and I go through and I will tab the pages or highlight, but the Simply Charlotte Mason Bible Picture Portfolios. So we've been going through Mark, and we went through Exodus this year. So I actually have one for Exodus as well. But they have these paintings. Let's see. Yeah, so I'll kind of show you. And the paintings are on very beautiful cardstock, very nice. And then when I'm reading the verses that correspond with the picture portfolio paintings, we not only can discuss the painter and a little bit behind the images of the paintings and just go deeper into the story. And that's been really helpful this year. So many of you may know that we subscribe to the CMEC, Charlotte Mason East Coast is what it's called. And it's a community of fellow Charlotte Mason homeschoolers. And every year, well, this is our second year that we've worked with them, used them. They put together these delightful Truth, Beauty, and Goodness songbooks, but they include our hymns, our folk songs, and our poetry. I don't use the poetry as much. I'll read one a month, but otherwise I have other poetry that we use. But these are great. These are amazing, and they have the hymns, and we go through 2 hymns a month, a term, and they include the YouTube playlists for each of the hymns and the folk songs, and we really enjoy going through those and have for the last 2 years. So another thing we do is Spanish songs. So this year they actually recommended that we use this book to coincide, and our son takes Spanish classes at our community. So it's been really fun to sing these songs and kind of go through some Spanish songs as well. Let's see, what should I talk about next? Next up, I usually go through, well, I'm in my head, I'm like, okay, so we do our Bible first, and then just keep in mind, I loop so many things. No day is ever the same. I don't do poetry and history and Shakespeare and geography and simple studies all on the same day. I will pick about 3 or 4 items, including Bible and or devotional, to do during our morning circle. So I don't do all these things on one day. I'm happy to talk more about looping schedules and whatnot, but I don't have time to cover all of how I go through that right now. But next up is poetry. I just picked up this little poem. I'm sure you guys have heard of it, Hailstones and Halibut Bones. It's cute. I just try and change poetry up quite a bit. Sometimes we do a poet study where we study the poet along with reading their poems. Sometimes I just need some poems to read. It takes about 2 seconds. So this has been kind of fun, and it's definitely on the elementary age. I'm giving myself a little bit of a brain break from the typical poet study right now. Let's see. My favorite, the simple studies. We will do about 3 to 4 simple study read alouds each week. My daughter and I are kind of going through this. Obviously, my son's too. He's on the verge of pretty much being too old for this. So when I read this aloud, it tends to be at the end while he's already gone off and is doing something on his own. But they're both listening to the English fairy tales. We're almost done. And they both really, really, really enjoy these stories. And I wanted to showcase, I don't have a nature study, simple study in our morning circle. Actually, we do, but I am reviewing a book that I'm creating a simple study on that should be released later this spring. And I can't share it with you because then it would ruin the surprise. So speaking of nature studies, simple studies, I highly recommend using this book as a guide, obviously using the field guides as a guide, but sometimes you can't find things. But I love this Smithsonian Natural History book mainly because, yeah, who wants to open it up on snails and slugs? That's, ugh. So let's see. Here we go. These are beautiful. So I always highly recommend when you're doing a nature study at the table, natural history, if you're not outside at the time and you're doing them at the table, especially with simple studies, I love this book because it has actual pictures of the animals, fauna and flora, reptiles, insects, like you name it. It's a really awesome reference book. Ooh, and this is, oh my gosh, and it's heavy. You can, this one is linked in my Amazon store. So moving on, I don't want this video to be like forever long. Talk a little bit about Shakespeare. So if you don't have this book, well, not everybody needs this book. A lot of times there are like CMEC, for example. I know there are a lot of Charlotte Mason providers out there, and even classical homeschool providers that offer Shakespeare guides through the plays, even Simply Charlotte Mason. They have some beautiful Shakespeare play, spiral bound, like it goes through the whole thing and it describes the play and whatnot. But I actually found this to be the most helpful reference for me. We don't always read aloud Shakespeare right in morning circle. Sometimes if read alouds are getting a little too long, it moves to lunchtime for us. But regardless, I always read a few versions. The actual play, this Charles Mary Lamb version, this is from New West Press. I love their books. And then I actually have, especially because our daughter and our son used to love just reading these on his own. This is an Usborne. And then this one, this is just, I remember I got like the whole set from Costco. This is another set. And so we read through those sometimes in our off time, not always in a morning circle time, but Shakespeare technically does fall in that morning circle time frame thing that usually it is included in. So let's see, what's next? Let's talk about artist study and composer study. So if the artist that we are studying is referenced in this book, beautiful book. This is Yesterday's Classics, obviously. Probably many of you have a lot of Yesterday's Classics books, but this is a wonderful, wonderful living book with biographies of different painters. So if the painters are included in our studies for the term in this book, then I will read from that. Again, I don't read the whole chapter. It's like in one whole sitting. I will split it up into 3 different readings or 2 different readings or even 4. Just depends. You gotta go with the flow. If kids are getting antsy, don't force feed the information. Okay, so we do use the picture study portfolios oftentimes from Simply Charlotte Mason. We did Gainsborough in the first term. And same thing, printed on beautiful cardstock. The one that we just finished was Jan Steen, and we have the guide from Riverbend Press. So we went through that one for term 2. And then for our composer study, I like to use a few different resources, but for just this case, I use Growing Gardenside. We did Edward McDowell. We've done one lesson. So I love her. They're very hands-on. This is Jennifer from Growing Gardenside. And I changed it up a little bit for the spring. Her guides are great. They do a ton of kind of exploration. There's like hide and seek. There's racing around the house based on the, sorry, I've got my coffee. Based on loud and soft, and she links all the songs, and then, you know, we'll just play a playlist throughout the day. But I really enjoy those if I'm not doing a formal composer study. But she has Tchaikovsky and Mozart and Bach, and I think we've done most of those. So moving on, geography. I can't do a video without including some sort of a fail, because homeschooling, right? We can't all say that we've included and completed all the things that we had on our list in the beginning of fall, because that would be unrealistic. So I started A Child's Geography of the World. I should have just done the Charlotte Mason elementary geography, the elementary of Europe. I probably would have gone better, and that's my fault, but that's okay. It was a season, and honestly, geography is the most under-taught subject in school. So I don't want to let it slip, but in our 6th grader, our son has been reading through Marvels, and he's enjoyed that. But as far as morning circle time goes, I was starting to read aloud this in the first term, and I just kind of fell off the bandwagon. There's a reason for that, though. Because once a week we were reading through this as a family. I still have all my stuff in here. And I also, I know you're gonna totally judge me, and that's okay. I don't care. I don't mind being judged. From Beautiful Feet books, the geography, everybody loves them. They're great. There's nothing wrong. It's just your bandwidth as a parent and a homeschool parent. So I think I have a few more chapters to go. But Tree and the Trail, Hauling books are incredible. In fact, I have you guys all the time emailing me like, please create a simple study off of these books. And I would love to. But I'm working on so many other ones that maybe someday, maybe I will. I don't know. But this is great. I love it. We haven't finished it. We started it in the first term, and I've got like 4 more chapters to go. And so it's good. I've totally fallen off the bandwagon of geography. All that to say, I'm hoping, I'm like cheering for myself in term 3 that I will pick it back up and enjoy it. But I have this new resource. We have not started to use it, but I thought I would share it with you. in hopes that maybe somebody else has used it. I did a lot of research and I was looking for something that my 6th grader could read independently and that I could also read aloud myself in a morning circle atmosphere, and my daughter could kind of partake in it. And it's called North Star Geography. I believe the author was actually homeschooled himself, and it has 3 different sections or units, so to speak. Geography skills like reading maps and navigation, physical geography, lithosphere, hydrosphere, atmosphere, and biosphere, and then human geography, social structures, culture, and heritage, interacting with the environment. What I love about this is it is biblically based. I'm just going to read you the introduction from lesson 11.3, which is actually in the human geography portion. In his time on earth, Jesus taught about masters going away from their estates, leaving responsibilities in the hands of their servants. Those who did well were rewarded, and those who did poorly were chastised. You can find these parables in Matthew 25:14 through 30, and Luke 19:12 through 27. Like the servants in the parables, each of us has been given different individual resources to steward. And it goes on to say that we share in abundant blessings that God has given us on earth, in the earth and its riches. And basically Adam and Eve had dominion over the earth. And then it kind of goes into body stewardship, world stewardship, and then a lot of these units actually cover, so they have little, what are they called? Spin-offs? Sidebars. So Morocco, Belgium, Prime Meridian, North and South Magnetic Poles, New York City Grid, Tube Map, Tornado Alley, Ural Mountains, Panama Canal. So I think this is going to be really fun here in our term 3. And I believe I'm going to include it in our morning circle. So the thing about morning circle too is that we try to cover all the common subjects so that when we break off into our individual work, then really we're just coming back together around lunchtime for a read aloud. So geography, artist, composer, Shakespeare, Bible, simple studies, those are all common subjects for us. So common subjects include for us science. And I showed this in my last video that The Good and the Beautiful puts out these science units, and I enjoy them. I just don't pick up, like we did geology and we did space and we're doing this one right now. I just don't do the ones that correlate with what we've been doing with simple studies. And I just wanted to reiterate that. So for term 3, after water in our world, if we get to it, I was going to tie the geography, seabird, and marine biology. I don't know if we'll get to it. I don't know. So there's so much goodness and excitement. The last thing on my list is history. That is also a common subject for us. Granted, our son reads individually 3 streams of history, British history, American history, and ancient history. And so the read alouds during morning circle time tend to kind of encompass what he's already learning about, but also present an opportunity for narration for our 2nd grader to do in her journal. So let's see. So this last term, we actually, and I mentioned this in the last video as well, when I talked about history, American History Stories. This was the 2nd volume, which covers a lot of the colonial revolutionary times. The Revolutionary, which we went through the Revolutionary War this year. Excuse me. So we also read through most of this, and we have been moving, as I said in my last video, to westward expansion. I can't speak today. So The Good and the Beautiful has this one. I jumped ahead because we had covered so much of the first part of this book. This is their year 3 course book. I guess they are discontinuing these, moving into something greater, hopefully. Wow, that coffee. Just a minute. We're in lesson 38, California Gold Rush. And what I love about these is that they bring oftentimes either an audiobook so that I can play something for my kids that is not including my voice, as well as some hands-on items. So like I don't know, I guess this next one is a spinning toy. And so these have been helpful. These are good. And my daughter will color or do her narrations. And then our son, who is obsessed with American history, has asked me to, I don't know, he wants me to create a simple studies based on presidents. And I'm like, I don't know if anybody else but you is gonna want that. I would love to hear if other people would be interested in that. But in the meantime, these are super short chapters. This is a scholastic biography of the presidents. This is a little bit older version than the ones that are currently out there, but I've just had it. And it's literally like a page to 2 pages, and it goes super quick. And he just loves history of presidents. So what's funny though is we've actually found some errors in this. So I don't know. It's just fun to compare and contrast, and then he can spot the errors because he does so many presidential studies. Anyway, enough about that. Last but not least, I don't include just a general novel read aloud during our morning times because they are already pretty read aloud heavy. So those actually end up in our lunchtime, but I just wanted to include it here because I'm not going to sit here and create a video about lunch. What do we read aloud at lunch? It's either Shakespeare or our novel, and right now it's Farmer Boy. It's our 3rd book. So I'm sure many of you have read aloud the Little House series, but we're just now enjoying it. Oh, and I forgot to get it, but we read through the Little Pilgrim's Progress during morning time when it was super dark out and cold and dreary in like November, December, and beginning of January. I think we finished it then. Anyway, that book is really awesome. I'm not going to go get it right now, but you know what? I will add it to my Amazon store, linked below. I'm still pretty new at this, so thanks for hanging with me. I really appreciate it. I hope you guys have an awesome day. And yeah, let me know if you have any questions, comments, and general ideas. I don't know, feedback. Everything's welcome. Let me know. Thanks a lot. Have a good one.